Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the LCS Week 3 and LEC Week 5 predictions here on the Izlo33 channel. Welcome to the show. We've got a lot to talk about this weekend, and we've got 25 matches ready and loaded to talk about, as well as last week's results, which we will be getting into right now. So, let us get into the results, starting with the LCS. Day 1, 4 out of 5. Only result we dropped was EG beating C9. We went with C9 for that game. Day 2, 2 out of 5. Bit of a rough one in terms of predictions. I'll say which ones we got wrong. CLG losing to FlyQuest. 100 Thieves losing to C9. 2 toss-up games realistically there. TSM beating Team Liquid. I did not expect that. TSM in that game just showed up and absolutely smashed Team Liquid across the rift. And that's it in terms of games we got wrong on the second day. Third day, 4 out of 5. Only game that we dropped was Dignitas beating Evil Geniuses, and let me tell you, we saw a Kane in that game, and that's our Anarchy Analysis matchup of the week, baby. So be sure to check that video out once it's up on the channel. As for the LEC, we have a very good scoreline. Day 1, 4 out of 5, only dropping a matchup which was the first matchup, Astralis beating Shaco. Was not expecting that one, and I didn't even know that Magic Felix had came into the Astralis roster, bringing his very strong Corki to that lineup. Last day though, 2 out of 5 in the Saturday games in the LEC, and Misfits beat Astralis. There's the first flip-flop game that I got wrong. Mad beat Shaco, so Shaco had no 2 week last week, which is not that good. And the last one that we got wrong, I flip-flopped personally in terms of my Super Fantasy team. I put in pretty much Reckless and Wonder into my team thinking, G2 will beat Rogue here. G2 looked far better on day 1, and yeah, they did. That's the issue with me doing them literally a day before the actual kicking off of the games, and doing both days on the same predictions thing. I predict them way before I see the other teams and their performances each week, so there's that. But as we look at our totals, LCS 21 out of 30 after a 10 out of 15 games this week being correctly predicted, and for the LEC 23 out of 35 with 6 out of 10 this weekend. And it's going to be interesting because literally we're going to be lining up for the first time this year both sides of the LEC and LCS having the same amount of games played, 45 in either region, going to be done by this weekend in literally 3 weeks for the LCS and 5 for the LEC. So there's that, and without further ado, let us get into our predictions for this weekend. Strap on in and buckle up, get that sweet lava ready and get steady. It's time for the LCS, with our first matchup being C9 versus CLG. Now last weekend, CLG managed to pick up their first win against the Golden Guardians. Meanwhile, C9 managed to go 2-1 that weekend, beating out some tough opponents, only losing to the Evil Geniuses. Now this weekend, I'm expecting C9 to have a bit of better fare, possibly a 3-0 weekend for themselves, as they take on EG. And for me, not EG, they're taking on CLG. And for me, I feel that they're going to beat CLG pretty easily and absolutely decimate them in a very dominant fashion. Game 2 is Dignitas versus FlyQuest. Now last weekend, Dignitas showed up big going 3-0. Will they do it again this weekend? I'm not too sure about it, but they're going up against the FlyQuest squad, whom have been kind of struggling in terms of performances. And for me, I feel that this game is going to Dignitas squad, and I'm now going to do a side thing for every single Dignitas weekend. Predict what champion Dardo's going to play in at least one of the 3 games, because he has played, what is it now, 9 or 10 unique champions in the LCS this year, and he's gonna play this game, I feel, to be maybe the Gragas. He hasn't played that yet. I think he could go towards that. If it's not that, I expect maybe an Ivan jungle. Let's go. Right. But my prediction for this game is Dignitas. Team Liquid, Golden Guardians. Gonna keep this one short and sweet. Team Liquid win after having poor weekend last weekend, going 1-2. Yeah, they need to bounce back and win this. Golden Guardians. Quattro Maggio. It is TSMio versus EGO. And TSMio were very dominantio last weekio, and absolutely played out their minds in the last 2 games last week, just having probably the cleanest games in the LCS, according to LS. But yeah, I feel that TSM are winning this matchup, hands down. They've been the best performing team in the past week, and the most improved team over the season so far, hands down in terms of performances. So gonna go with them beating EG, who have been very strong through their performances each week, but I have to go with the TSM squad that just looks even stronger. We round out the day in the LCS with IMT versus 100 Thieves in a matchup that I feel could in theory go either way, as IMT have been a team that provides them upset wins, whereas 100 Thieves are that dominant force that's very hard to beat. And obviously I've gone with 100 Thieves here because they're a very dominant force, though I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't a close matchup, even if I think IMT are just going to stomp top lane and then crush the rest of the lanes that way, and FBI isn't just popping off literally every single game he's playing, and is honestly being a shoo-in to be mid-split MVP, if not MVP of this spring split, that's for damn sure. Now, I'm going to go here with the 100 Thieves win, though it could be an absolute belter of a matchup. So, let us get into the number 2, C9 versus Dignitas is the first matchup that we're seeing, and one that I was considering to be a match of the week if it weren't for the fact that we just covered Dignitas in an Anarchy Analysis Teamfight Breakdown. But this matchup is close, it's going to be fun. I feel this is a flip-flop in current form between these 2 teams. Dignitas has had the better of it, but C9 is still a strong team and have looked better since their loss in that lock-in tournament final in comparison to their opponents in that game. But I've gone with C9 here, beating Dignitas purely based off of the fact that they've looked incredibly strong throughout the entirety of this year, in comparison to Dig, who's having what I could only assume to be a flash in the pan sort of success. But who knows, I could be completely wrong here, and Dignitas just absolutely smash everyone and finish first in this league, going into the spring playoffs, which realistically isn't a fun thing at all. Anyway, let's move into our next match. And that matchup is CLG IMT. 2 teams near the bottom of the table, but one team must go closer to the top 4 and the other stays where they are. This matchup, I feel, is going to be fun, it's going to be interesting, but I feel it's going to be determined by jungle difference. CLG still playing with a sub, I do believe, this weekend. Broxer not able to join them on the Rift, which is really costing CLG a lot, as he would be really strong in captaining the squad and performing very well on mechanical picks in comparison to Griffin, aka Wiggly, who's not been at the top of his form this year. I would say he was very good on CLG in the spring split last year, but this year he hasn't been tip of the top of his performances as what he was, and as such I've gone with IMT beating out CLG in this matchup. 8th matchup is TSM and 100 Thieves as our Anarchy Analysis matchup of the week. Big match this realistically, as these two teams going up towards the top half of the table in a very explosive battle, and this is something we don't get to talk about too often, is how teams are doing so well, and this one is interesting on form because TSM have looked the cleaner of the two squads going into this matchup, but 100 of these are a squad you cannot count out. You think about it, pretty much all of the 100 Thieves squad were the Golden Guardians lineup that decimated TSM in a best of 5 in the playoffs last year. Now granted, TSM did go on to win against them in a best of 5, but it was a close affair between the two lineups, and as such, this matchup you have to say is going to be very, very close, and I want to look at this from certain perspectives, and that perspective for me is the bot lanes, as on one side you have FBI and Huhi going up against Lost and Sorda, and these two squads have been very interesting. FBI and Huhi have probably been the best bot lane in the LCS this year, and Lost and Sorda, when their team invests into them like they have done in the last few games, have just looked absolutely dismantling and mesmerizing. That's what I want to go for here. And they've been hard to beat. And for me, this matchup is going to be hands down a bot lane clash where we will be seeing a lot of rumbling in that grumbling down in the botty laney. I don't know what I'm saying, but I've gone with TSM here. That's my prediction. I just feel that the form's been more favourable towards them, though it is going to be interesting to see how these two lineups play up against each other, as I feel 100 Thieves going to dismantle the top lane. Speaker and Closer are going to have a close matchup, if you pardon the pun. Mid lane, DeMonte and PoE is a close matchup, both like control mages. TSM have been putting a lot of priority into the first pick control mage, and that could be where the matchup is decided, is if PoE is able to grab a strong control mage, and maybe DeMonte goes assassins into him and just absolutely dismantles him in lane, and 100 Thieves wins that way. But I don't know, it could be a very explosive matchup, and I realistically want to watch this. Match numero 9 is TL versus EG, and we're taking this one nice and steady. Until now, where we're going to talk about these two teams, this is going to be an absolutely explosive matchup. Team Liquid been very good when they get early leads. They haven't been the best at performing teams as they should be expected to be. They're kind of allowing the fans to be upset with their performances. As for EG, they're looking good. They've been performing quite well and doing a lot of work when they get good games. Impact absolutely decimating opponents, in my opinion, is going to take away a game from his former team here, as I have gone with EG beating Team Liquid here, just based on the fact that they're stronger at the moment. Team Liquid haven't been performing as well, though they are a very solid team and could quite easily take this match as well. But EG are my winners for this one, and let's go into the next game. Saturday's last matchup is going to be FlyQuest taking on Golden Guardians. Do I think FlyQuest are going to pick up a win here? No! I've gone with Golden Guardians picking up a win. Honestly, these two teams have struggled quite a lot this year. It's like 3 teams at the bottom table: CLG, FlyQuest, Golden Guardians. And for me, this matchup is going to go to the Golden Guardians, even though I feel it's a close one between these two lineups who have been kind of meh, realistically. They're definitely 6th, 7th and 8th, if not below that in terms of their performances this year. And yeah, I've gone with Golden Guardians here. Sunday's matches is kicked off with Dignitas, two teams on a hot streak going into this weekend's games, both having 3-0 weekends as well. Whom do I think got the better of the two weekends last week? I feel is TSM, but this matchup I feel is going to be closer. One that I wanted to yet again cover as an analogy analysis matchup, but no, we can't cover Dig 2 weeks in a row, and I for one am damn sure that this one's going to be explosive, and two teams wanting to vie for that top spot that's honestly very open at the moment as to who is going to be winning the LCS this year. But for me, this matchup is going to TSM, even though this is a type of match that is anyone's to take. IMT FlyQuest on the Rift now. Matchup I feel is closely contested between these two lineups, and yet again I like to put emphasis on the jungle matchup, as it's Xerxes taking on Jose Diodo, two imports into this region, one coming from technically EU, the other coming from the LLA, and this matchup as a whole is going to be mainly revolving around how they affect the map. And to me, I feel that Xerxes is going to get more done here. I've gone with IMT over FlyQuest. Although I feel FlyQuest on paper have the strongest squad, IMT just are a team that I feel are going to fire on all cylinders, take down FlyQuest, and showcase to the world why they're such a strong lineup in comparison to the Fly. 100 Thieves, Golden Guardians, onto the Rift for our 13th game. I cannot sing, but it's not gonna stop me. I think that 100 Thieves are gonna win. There's no tune even to this, but hey, I feel they've got a better squad. Golden Guardians need at least a split to rock, and they're still untested as a rookie roster, but they'll make it better if they keep on going stronger. Yeah, 100 Thieves are winning this one. Probably the biggest matchup this weekend on the paper that's written in front of me, but in my opinion isn't the biggest matchup because of the two teams. Realistically, one of them is sucking quite hard right now, and I still haven't mentioned their team names, and this really annoys me when I'm editing it, but hey, let's just keep going. It's going to be Team Liquid taking on C9. There we go. In come the team logos from the sides, and yeah, this matchup, as I said, one team sucking, and that is Team Liquid, or Team Losing, as I want to call them right now. For me, C9 are winning this. They look fairly strong, and this is technically the rematch of the lock-in finals that we wanted for a while now, and C9 just look better, they look stronger, and are performing better than ever. Team Liquid, slightly struggling, could possibly be on that losing streak, but could bounce back here, but I've gone with C9 overall. Woo! It's the last game in the LCS this week. EG, CLG, one team gonna win. One team I think is strong, the other is not so good. I don't know who's gonna win, but I say EG wins. That is my prediction here. EG are really to be feared. I tried to think of something funny, it did not work, so I'm gonna be a dummy. And yeah, let's get into actual breaking it down. EG, dominant, Finn versus Impact, matchup that realistically is going to be dominated by Impact, who's going to have a strong top side. Finn struggles in weak side matches, so maybe CLG try and invest into him. Only time will tell, and yeah, I've gone with EG here. So we finally take a trip over to the LEC in this video, kicking things off with SK versus Shaco. Now, last weekend Shaco had a bit of a rough one, dropping both games to opponents, one of which you could assume to be better than them, and the other not so much. They in fact got absolutely dismantled, and their opponents, SK, did a better job than what Shaco did, going 1-1. Granted, they did lose to Fnatic, but they still performed incredibly well. They had some clean engages in their win, and it's why I like watching SK right now. But do I think that they're gonna beat Shaco? No. Even though I think it's going to be a very even matchup between these two lineups, I've just got a feeling that Shaco will pull it out of the bag, mainly through the top lane. I feel that Broken Blade's carries are going to just outscale and outdamage Genax, so I've gone with a Shaco win in that sense. Match number 2 sees the Mad Lions and XL on the Rift, doing battle after a one-on-one week for both sides here, and coming in, you would have to say XL are the favourites, being one of these top teams in the league right now, playing very weird, more for late game, as they pretty much always lose the early game in their performances, and this is something that may be an issue if Mad go for a very early game draft. Elyoya likes to make plays early. He's been very effective on the map for the Mad Lions, and as such, realistically, I'm expecting a lot of things to happen in this game. XL trying to fight in the early game would be something I would love to see, and them getting an early game lead for once. That would be a complete shock, and something that I would love to see. But as for my prediction here, I have gone with XL. I feel that when it gets to the late game, Mad tend to peter out and XL turn it on. So that is my honest prediction here. Well, G2 Astralis are onto the Rift now, and honestly, I've got to go with G2 here. They're just the better squad, even if Astralis are coming in with at least a win out of last week's games. They're still not that strong, and they've got a very weak, I would say, champion pool being shown. 2 games for Magic Felix this year, and 2 Corki games. He isn't playing top tier meta picks, he's playing something he's comfortable with, instead of something that's actually very powerful. And honestly, I expect to see something else from him this year, but only time will tell, and I'm looking forward to this matchup. Misfits Rogue are our 4th match in the LEC, and our 4th easy prediction. I've got it on my pad of paper when I write down every single game that's happening. I've literally gone for day number 1, all the right side so far. So you can kind of see where my head is right now. I've gone with Rogue, and honestly I feel Rogue are very strong at the moment. Yes, they did just lose to G2, but usually after a loss against a team that you're closely rivaled with, you tend to come back firing on all cylinders. And Misfits have been a very odd team in terms of performances. Like, everyone thought week 1 for them was a fluke, and realistically, it seems that way because every other game that they've played, they haven't looked the strongest. They've been kind of offbeat, I would say. They're not on the same communication level. They're making plays on one side that doesn't lead to anything else, and it kind of costs them wins if they keep doing that sort of style. They just need to get on the same page, is realistically what I'm saying, and maybe they could make this game very competitive from the get-go, but my prediction is Rogue for this one. 20 matches in right now, and our last match in the LEC's first day is Vitality Fnatic. 2 teams I'd honestly say are doing okay. Vitality making that switch up during last weekend, bringing in Crownshot to the lineup to provide a bit of leadership, something that they were honestly lacking, or appear to have been lacking during their recent games. Honestly, though, I don't think it's enough to beat Fnatic, though this is a matchup I remember Vitality winning last time they faced during the regular season last year, and I honestly think that they could do it again, but Fnatic are just on a new level right now. They're going to win, they're going to smash this Vitality roster, and hopefully there is no chrono breaks to ruin it for Fnatic. God, looking at Twitter after that. Let's just get into it. Anarchy Analysis match of the week in the LEC is Astralis and XL on the Rift for a big old battle. Reason I want to cover this matchup is I want to look at the mid lanes. Magic Felix coming in, and he's played on the Fnatic Rising roster that usually contested with BTXL pretty much through the entirety of the UKLC and then the NLC. They were the top two teams in that league. Now he's facing off against XL this time in the LEC. Will he be able to decimate an opponent that he's known for beating? I don't think so. I think that XL are winning this, but this could be a very interesting battle to say the least. Looking across each lane, you've got Cries in that top lane who whips out pretty much whatever. However, he has been going towards these more steady carries in that top lane, the likes of the Renekton's, Camille's, picks like that that can actually carry, but that aren't so unique to him. As for his opponent White Knight, he's been okay, not too spectacular or standout performances from him, but he has been doing very well and the job needed for Astralis. Whereas we look at the jungle role, Dan has actually been stepping up in the jungle recently, landing these clean and decisive smites, stealing away objectives quite frequently in the games he's playing, versus Zanzara, who honestly has been playing well. He got his signature Skarner pick last game against Shaco, who left it up for him, and he literally just won the game off of that impaling Scorpion. God, that was a good game to watch nonetheless. And mid lane, we've discussed it. Realistically, it's Magic Felix versus Chocolate. Good matchup, honestly. These two team players were in the EU Masters last year and did actually show up quite effectively, though I would say this matchup isn't as even as you would say. I still think Chocolate will probably dominate that one. And then the bot side map, Patrick and Torre versus Promiscu and Jeskla. Them two bot lanes are very solid. You've got a solid Mouse Esports bot lane from last year versus the XL bot lane that's just been decimating opponents ever since they got together. And honestly, I'm looking forward to this matchup greatly, and I still feel though XL will win this one. Misfits and SK now onto the Rift for our 22nd game. Honestly, I'm going to keep this one short because I like them shorter. SK are winning. Honestly, Misfits have been that up and down lineup. They could, in theory, make a switch out between the days. Would make a hell of a difference. And honestly, I would like to see it. In terms of their top lane, I feel they could possibly bring in Aggressivo now and try and give him a bit of experience, because I don't think Hirit, while has been okay, he isn't one of the best performers right now, and I honestly think you could give him maybe a couple of dead games off, allow Aggressivo to get on stage, maybe you pick up a win, it changes up the champion pool in that top lane, so teams who are getting used to banning against you certain things, just give them a different option. Make them not able to ban the same things and force them into a sticky situation. Obviously, I do believe we're going into a new patch this weekend as well, where the full jungle nurse will take swing, so realistically, I think, don't get me wrong, this is only me thinking, bringing in Aggressivo would be a better option for Misfits here. but I've still gone with SK winning this matchup because I just feel they're a lot stronger right now. They've got far better bot lane synergy, they're performing exceptionally well, and realistically, honestly, should be in playoffs this year. Let's keep these ones rolling on in short and sweet yet again. Rogue versus Vitality. Rogue are winning this one. Rogue just decimate opponents realistically very easily, and Vitality have struggled realistically through this year, even if they have brought in Crownshot, who isn't a good performer. I'd say is not an upgrade on comp, but in my opinion, it helps out this Vitality roster in some way. Just, they haven't discovered it just yet, and they haven't had that long of a time to get used to one another. I think it was like 2 days, 3 days before the LEC last weekend that Crownshot was announced, and Crownshot hasn't had that much time to get used to the squad. But either way, it's going to be an interesting matchup now that he's had a bit more time to accommodate himself to the lineup. But I've gone with Rogue here. They're just the best team right now in the LEC. 2 more matches left to go. Fnatic versus Mad is the first one. And the first one that we're talking about is a very spicy one. These two teams did very well last year. These two teams are doing okay this year. I have gone with Fnatic winning this one, and I want to focus on the jungle matchup, as it is Eloya versus Selfmade, a upstart rookie who's providing a lot for the Mad Lions this year, and then Selfmade being that primary carry for the Fnatic roster, whom is the showman, I would say, on the lineup. If you watch their performances, I remember his Graves and basically missing that collateral damage, and him just being, oh no, why did I do this to myself? But yes, I have gone with Fnatic winning this matchup and winning it in a dominant style. And we finally round out this week with G2 versus Schalke. And honestly, this is a hype matchup. Last time these two teams faced off, Schalke took the victory and began their Giant Slayer run. Granted, that only lasted 2 weeks, but it was still a very dominant display from Schalke in that last matchup, absolutely taking apart G2 and showcasing their weaknesses to allow other teams like Fnatic to beat them. But right now, I would honestly say G2 will win. They don't like giving over multiple losses to teams. This is one that I think they'll win back, and probably do it via the draft. I honestly think that they'll outdraft Schalke here, and possibly look to punish towards the mid lane, get Caps roaming, get him affecting the rest of the map. But that's what I expect to happen. Whether or not we see it is doubt it. I doubt it. This is a matchup G2 need to win. And yep, let's get into the ending of this video then. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a like down below, subscribe if you're new around here or if you want to, and I will see you guys next time, where we'll be possibly breaking down the 2 team fight breakdowns that I haven't done this week. See you guys then.